course, Big Boy's Barber Shop is wide open for business, Donnie. And that's actually a good thing. I think my kids and everybody else's sons and what do you think? They ought to go and see him?
Yeah.
Is Carol going to send you down there?
I'm pretty sure it's time.
I told him, I said, let the redneck haircuts commence. That's what we had going on my porch the other day. Stick around. We're going to talk to Donnie Adams from Adams-Contracting. I got about 1 million questions for the dude, including, those carpenter bees that like to buzz your tower? Well, how much are they doing to the integrity of your porch? We're going to talk about that next.
Christian Care Center of Catawba announces Jita Shabda, their new medical director, and that they now have on-site physician services specializing in internal medicine and pulmonary, Monday through Friday during regular business hours. Christian Care Center of Catawba is Joint Commission certification with 57 private rooms, all covered by private pay, insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid. They also have a designated area for smokers. It's the next best thing to home. Call Christian Care Center of Catawba, nurturing body, mind, and spirit.
We invite you to join us each Sunday morning beginning at 6 and lasting till 1 for uplifting messages from several of our area churches. We may not be able to gather together, but we can share positive and encouraging words during these challenging days. Make plans to come together with us by radio on 1580 103.3 WPKY. You can even listen from our free app or at WPKYonline.com.
This time of year is perfect to work outside and to freshen up your landscape.
At Mr. Mulch, they're here to help. Open Monday through Friday, 8 till 5, and Saturdays through 8 till 4.
In order to follow the governor's guidelines, they'll serve you at your vehicle.
Buy premium mulch by the bag or Bobcat scoop. They also have decorative rock, driveway gravel, and also garden mix.
And don't forget free delivery in the city limits of Hopkinsville with a 5-yard minimum.
For more info, visit their Facebook page. Mr. Mulch, thanks for supporting small business.
1580 103.3 WPKY, and of course Coffee Talk live on the air at 8:24, and it is heating up, Buttercup. I will tell you, it was hot yesterday, Donnie.
Absolutely.
And of course, if you're just joining us, this is Donnie Adams from Adams Contracting, and I'll tell you, it was hot yesterday, and those carpenter bees, maybe that's what got me thinking about it, but those carpenter bees, they were angry.
Yeah, they're everywhere right now. It's when it heats up is when they're trying to make their nests, get into that inside of that wood where it's good and cool and moist.
Well, and how much damage do they do? Because I know they drill way back in there. And if you look up at the eaves in our barn, my dad and I were talking about this the other day, that's got to do something eventually to the integrity of those beams and the weight that they're holding. I mean, because it looks like 1 million holes up there.
Right. They'll eventually bother the infrastructure enough to where it won't hold weight. And it's not necessarily just the weight that you see when you see the bees. It's when the snow weight comes, you get what's called a snow load. So you're adding an extra 300 pounds per square foot to the roof, and that's sitting on top of that beam. So if it's really, really eat up with the bees, then you don't really have that much wood that's holding that weight anymore. So you have to go in, take those boards out that's been drilled, a hose drill through, and then replace them as needed,
I heard they could drill like several feet back in those beams, that those holes they turn sideways and go the length of the board sometimes.
Right. They go in there far enough that they can have their nest and get away from predators and get away from, especially in the barns, you've got the birds that's the predators. Yeah. So they want to get up in there to where they're safe and lay their eggs and...
Whew. Well, and I've also heard, stick steel wool down in it. That does not work because they actually burrow out the other end, don't they?
Right. There's all kinds of methods people talk about. You can spray WD-40 in a hoe. Supposedly they don't like the taste of the wood with the WD-40 in it. But nothing really beats just a good old can of wood carpenter bee spray. It's got a nozzle. You spray it up in the hoe, it'll foam out, come out. Within about 5 minutes, if there's bees up in there, they come falling out. You step on them.
I said there is one thing that'll beat them. You got a wiffle ball thing or a tennis racket. Boy, you ping them off one of them suckers will fly.
You can get at least 3 bases out of it.
I know that sounds horrible to me because I'm normally bees, for pollination and that sort of thing. But those things are just destructive.
Yes.
And I guess that they do, other good things too. But I'll tell you, I have got some beams in the barn that they have just chewed up, and not just the barn, the garage. They'll chew up a deck. Now, if the boards are treated, does that matter?
No, they'll go through a treated board just the same as they do when it's untreated.
See, I had been told the opposite too, so it doesn't matter.
No, though I've had them. I've when we went and repaired decks and you cut a beam in two, you'll find the hose in it. I mean, a treated deck, the treatment lasts for a long time, but eventually the treatment starts going away on the outside.
Right.
And so if you don't do something with that deck, like sealing it and curing it and staining it and things like that, then eventually they'll just go ahead and start burrowing holes into it also.
Paint or stain?
I'm a stain guy. I think stain is 100% the best way to go with exposed wood, but there is a lot of good paints out there. And you can change colors of paints a lot easier than change colors of stain.
There's some of that I think we put on our deck a few years back. Not our deck, it was actually my dad's. But it was a colored, and it was kind of a cross in between a stain and a paint. It was,
right.
I don't know, it was really weird. It was almost like a gel, and then you had to let it sit there for a while, and it soaked in.
That's a new product. Well, it's not new now. It's been out on the market for 5-6 years, but it's got a texture to it. And it's supposed to keep the deck to be slip resistant, steps to be slip resistant. It's got like a sand base. It's a stain. It'll soak into it real good, but it also sits on top of it. And it kind of does away with the having to put a clear coat sealer on it.
Oh, so if we're eliminating steps, that sounds good to me.
Right.
Of course, the last time Donnie was here, we talked about roofs and windows leaking around the edges and that sort of thing, and how you accidentally find things when you don't want to accidentally find them. And I think this week it just got me thinking about all of the wood bees and the deck, and when do you say, all right, we're beyond repair time? This is, we need a new deck.
When it starts getting soft in between the joints, or when you start to feel the bounce and the wiggle when you go across it, that you didn't feel before you went across it, like before the bees got there, then it's time to start doing something with the integrity of the deck. You need to look underneath it. It may be as simple as just changing out the outside wood, and you don't have to change the whole structure. You know, the 4x4s are usually in pretty decent shape. The band and the joist are usually in pretty good shape. So you just some new 5/4 boards, some new screws, and just a little, an hour and a half, we can have one patched up and secure and ready for deck time.
But sometimes it's just cheaper to redo the deck than it is to try to patch and patch and patch and patch, right?
Eventually, you've got to go ahead and redo the deck, and that's the time when you go ahead and you add that extra 2 foot that you wanted before. Or that's the time when you maybe have your electrician come over and run an outside plug while the deck's tore off, so that you've got electrical outlet outside. A lot of these new smokers are electric, and they got electric blowers on them, and just TVs outside. There's a lot of outdoor kitchens now that you need electrical for, and ceiling fans on your deck, things like that. So it's a good time to do an upgrade while you're doing it.
Well, and I told Brent Francis that I would ask this question too. And God bless him, Chief Francis over at the Princeton Fire Department. What do we do when we put a grill on our deck? Because I'm one of those that's lazy, and I don't want to walk halfway across my yard to use my grill. So the grill eventually ends up on the porch, which I'm sure is a bad idea because Chief Francis says so.
Right.
But what do we do to help keep the heat and the grease and everything off the deck that won't melt? I mean, you can't use plastic because it's going to melt.
Well, they've got several grill mats that you can put underneath your grill. But you can take a concrete board, like a hardy backer.
Now, is that what you put in your bathroom to put tile down?
Yes.
Okay.
You can put a section of it down and then tile that area where you're going to have your grill. But it needs to be the furthest point away from your house that you can get it. And it doesn't need to have a ceiling above it.
Oh.
So if you wanted to do like,
well,
say,
now how come? What does that do?
Well, you've got your smoke, you got your grease fires, you've got your if you have a flare up, those flames sometimes can get 4 or 5 feet tall. So if you've got a vinyl ceiling above it, then now you're starting to melt that vinyl ceiling, and the fire gets up into the attic, and then here comes Brent Francis.
Oh. Well.
But it's just as easy to take.
Brent Francis, now I gotta go home and take my grill off of my deck. I didn't even think about that.
One of the best things you can do is just
He's laughing at us both right now, going, Donnie's right. Donnie's right.
We've seen a lot of houses where the siding's melted from a simple flare-up where they threw too much bacon or too much hamburgers or whatever on the grill at one time.
Wait. There is no such thing as too much bacon.
Depends on how big your grill is.
I'm just saying, there is no such thing as too much bacon. I'm going to put that out there.
One of the things you need to make sure when you're grilling, though, if you do have it that close to the house, is look inside your grill. Make sure the drain port is clean. to where that you've got a drip pan on that grill.
Right.
And if it's not going down into that drip pan, it's going to flare up because it has no choice. But it's for maybe $100-150. You could take a section of your handrail out, do a little 4 foot by 5 foot addition to your deck, 10-15 boards, and then put a piece of Advantex plywood down, and then put that little piece of concrete board down, and then set your grill on it, and it's away from the house. It's still right there where your handrail was.
How much does something like that cost to do?
Maybe $100-150. I mean, it's real simple.
Are you kidding?
It's just 2 posts, a little band tied to the. I mean, it's not like you're sitting on it. You're not walking on it. You're just going to set your grill over there.
Right.
And you're taking out a little section of handrail. It gets it out away from the house. It gets it out away from the overhang. And now you've got basically a little pocket or a little cubby for your grill to go into. And then it's not the same material as the porch.
Okay.
So if you'll put the plywood down and then the concrete board down, you don't even have to tile. You can leave that concrete board there and just change it out periodically.
I'm telling you, this is why we have him over. you know when you had that friend over to your house because you wanted to secretly ask him a bunch of questions? That's what is going on today. Can you tell? So we also heard about something that I was pretty proud of you guys for that I think is amazing. Now, Donnie and Carol, they do not like to pat themselves on the back, but I will say you guys do a lot for the community, and you give back to the community a lot more than what people probably know. And the scholarship was one of them that I thought was pretty neat. And I wanted to kind of, I know they don't like to brag on themselves, but I wanted to brag on them a little bit this morning. And tell us about the scholarship.
We've started, a few years back, we started a scholarship for kids that was raised by their grandparents. We've done several projects, like you said. One of the last bigger ones we did was the playground downtown.
Right.
Then we was trying to figure out what's next. What do we do now to give back to our community? And we tried for a year or two to allow us to be able to put a wheelchair swing set at that park. It's a swing set that you can just roll a wheelchair into. Mm-hmm. The little thing folds up, and then a kid in a wheelchair can swing, just like the rest of the kids at the park. Well, it kind of fell on deaf ears with some of the administration. And so we was trying to figure out what can we do? What can we do? The future of Princeton is in these kids that's graduating. If you look around at the businesses we've got right now, Falters, if the Falters kids hadn't have took over, we'd probably lost Falters. Mm-hmm. If Jim Joyner's son hadn't took over at Joyner Hardware, we would have lost Joyner Hardware.
That was my daddy's first job back in the day, was Joyner's.
Majestic House. The girls of the owners of Majestic House have now took over Majestic. So, these businesses would have been gone had these youth not had come back home and took over these businesses. And then when you look around at the kids you graduated with, they're working at the banks, they're working at the water departments, the police departments, they're working at all these places. Well, if these kids hadn't have come back home.
The 90s have invaded, I'm just letting y'all know. Alumni from the late 80s and early 90s were running everything. So y'all look out.
Yeah, if they hadn't have come back home, there would be no future here in Princeton. They're the ones that's going to come back with the creative ideas. They're the ones that's going to come back and bring businesses back to town. They're going to bring their families back to town. And if it's all, we're always talking about how the town needs to grow. That's how this is going to grow. And so we prayed about it for a while, and we've been so blessed with these businesses here in town. I mean, the people of Princeton are great. When I was growing up, the word was you got to work out of town to make any money. Uh-huh. It's not that way now. These are great people in Princeton. They're proud of what they have. They want to do things with what they have.
Well, and a lot of us did. I was one of them. I left for a while, and then I ended up coming back, to work, and then ended up coming back because when I had kids, I said, no, I'm going home. Right. And that, that's, I think a lot of people have kind of done that.
So what we came up with is the best way to give back to the city of Princeton for being so kind and for God blessing us is to create a scholarship for the future of Princeton. And so we prayed about it, and we come up with a criteria that we wanted someone that was raised by a grandparent, because we're raising our grandson. And we kind of dumped it on Miss Phelps. We said, okay, Miss Phelps, you're going to have to get us some names of ones. They need to be going somewhere. They need to be furthering their education. It can't be somebody that just wants to start and nothing against a lawnmower business or something like that, but it couldn't be someone that was not going to go any further in their education. We wanted to further someone's education. It didn't matter. It could be Duke, Kentucky, Virginia, wherever they wanted to go, technical school, any type of further in their education. And so we was committed, and we've started the scholarship. And since we've started, I think we've given out 5 scholarships.
I think that's amazing.
So it's a blessing to us, and it just makes you feel good. You got to help others, and it just makes you feel good when you know that child's life has somehow or another been touched. And inside the card, we get to write something from our church or something about God or some type of God's word. So not only are we helping them, but we also getting to share the word of God with the child that otherwise we wouldn't ever probably even speak to because we wouldn't know them.
I love that. I think that's amazing. Well, and I am a true believer that I think if kids I think go farther and they do better when they think somebody's rooting them on. And it could just be one person, but at least they know that one person is in their corner.
Absolutely.
And I think that makes all the difference in the world. But I saw that scholarship, and I said, I got to come embarrass him now. I think that's fantastic. I really do.
Well, like I said, we let Miss Phillips give us the names, and then we go through the names, and we try to pick 1, 2. You know, if there's 3, we'll give 3. You know, it's nothing we want to really publicizing, letting everybody know, hey, this is what we do. You know, or when we go to bid someone's job now for 1% of your job, I'm gonna put in a fund that's going to help. A scholarship fund later down the road. My wife and I, my grandson's blessed. We live comfortably. I mean, now we're not millionaires, but we live comfortable. Lights and water, gas is paid, and we take a percentage. There's a percentage that goes to church. There's a percentage that goes to community, and there's a percentage of our profits that will go into a fund to help fund these scholarships. And that's what we do with our profits off of our business.
I think that's amazing. I think that's a great role model for other kids, too, when they're graduating. And speaking of which, I know when we talk about support local, I was picking on him the other day, and I said, well, you can have mine because mine's bouncing off the walls. That part of giving back is also, is employment. And the fact is that you employ people here in our community and in our area. And that, again, feeds right back into the economy. And that's something that, some people are looking for some jobs. What kind of jobs are you looking to hire?
We hire carpenters, laborers. My cousin's got a concrete crew, so if you've got concrete experience, and there's just several things. And every year we always have one teenager that works for us. It has to be at least...
By the way, back off. I already got that one. I put that on there. I said, you can have mine here.
We try to hire at least one teenager every year, sometimes 2. They don't handle the power tools and things like that, but they do pack shingles. They'll sweep, mop, dig holes, get a general idea of what construction's about.
I think that's fantastic, though, because that goes back to when you do the scholarship. Right. Well, now what if they want to be a contractor? What if they want to say, well, I want to be like Donnie. I want to be a carpenter. I want to be a plumber.
I usually change their mind after a summer working for me. They usually want to go back to school.
That's hard work. It is, but, that's how they get into things like that and get their feet wet a little bit. And I think that's fantastic as well. Now, are you looking for, is this a big college education kind of?
No.
Or can we start in as an apprentice and work our way up?
Sometimes it's better if you don't have any experience. If
Well,
you're
no,
just
I
willing
heard
to
that.
show up and work, and, bring your lunch, and listen. A lot of times it seems like I do it. You're saying I do it the hard way, but I know the other way is going to get you hurt.
Yeah.
So if I tell you got to stay back away from that edge, you got to stay back away from that edge.
Well, I like that because you're giving people an opportunity that they might not have otherwise, and I think that's wonderful. That's feeding right back into the community, which feeds right back into our economy.
Right, and it gives them a chance to learn. Even if their career path takes them to be a doctor, a lawyer, a neonatal nurse in the Navy, whatever it takes you. You get a skill set that when you're at your house and you think, hey, I want to paint my living room. Now you know how to spackle your walls. You know how to cut it paint in. You know how to prime your paint. You know how. It gives you a little skill set to where you can do some things for yourself that you don't have to just pay someone else to do all the time.
See, I love that. It's a big cycle of a community.
Everybody's got a job.
Hey, I again, of course, Miss Beth did. We started a initiative with Support Local. And # support local, and I thought that was amazing. And then we did the comeback day, and now we're on the comeback tours where we're actually getting to open up some of these businesses. But it originally it just keeps on going back to things like that. Is when you can pour your love and support into the school, and when they graduate, try to give them a job, try to give them a chance when they might not have otherwise. So I think that's fantastic, and I think you're doing a great job with the scholarships, and we thank you for it.
If I could just say one thing.
Yeah.
after this weekend, everybody's turned their heating and air on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we need to get those units clean.
Mine doesn't work. I
Well,
turned it.
A lot of times they don't work because the outside hasn't been cleaned.
Well, that's
You mowed your yard, you blew that grass up on the outside fence, and now it's not getting the air to cool it off.
I just know that when we turned it on and it was 87 and maybe closer to 90 out, my air conditioner didn't work, and that wasn't no good.
Right. Well, the first thing they're going to do when they come is they're going to have to clean your unit. So if you've already cleaned your unit, now your time that your heating and air guy is paying, that you're paying him to repair your unit, he's not cleaning your unit. You've done that for maybe $25 worth of spray foam that you got at Falders or Joiners or Walmart, wherever you get it at. You spray it in the fins, it'll foam itself out and clean that dirt out, and then you spray it off with a water hose. You don't have to have somebody come do it.
And where do I get that?
Any of the hardware stores, any of your
Falders.
Right, there you go.
I'll come see a feed here in a minute.
About $12 a can. You spray it. You take the grate off the fin. You spray it right on the fence. It'll foam, and when it foams, you'll just watch that dirt and crud and stuff just come oozing out of
Really?
this fence. Yes.
Now,
absolutely.
see, I like that a lot.
And it's something you can do. Now you can get the acids and stuff, but I wouldn't recommend if you've never used that stuff. I wouldn't recommend you using the acids.
No, anything that says acid on it scares me to
But the
death.
foam cleaner is perfectly safe, easy to use. You spray it on the fins, it'll foam out, and you take a garden hose on low pressure, not high pressure. You bend your fins, spray it out, and you'll see all that crud and stuff come running out. Now, when your air unit's running, it can pull the moisture out, and those on the outside get hot. That's where they're bringing all the heat and stuff out.
Oh.
So now air is able to get to it and help cool it off, so when it goes back in and hits the refrigerant, it can cool the house down easier.
Well, how come you can float a Frisbee on top of your air conditioner when it's running? That's what we all really want to know.
A lot of hot air.
I'm just saying.
And
we
buy
all
those
want to
fire
know that.
extinguishers. Buy those fire extinguishers. You was talking about a while ago about the outside grills.
Yes.
A lot of people got out this weekend, started grilling, had the flare-ups from the last year's grease and stuff. Look around, there's no fire extinguisher. Look for $10, you can get one of those little fire extinguishers at Walmart or for Falders or Joiner Hardware or any of those
And they're
places.
not
Lowe's.
much either. They're not
Set
very
it
expensive.
outside wherever you're, between you and your grill. So if you come out and it's got a high flare, I know you're going to lose, $20 worth of meat, but you won't lose your house. You won't lose your.
Brent Francis would be proud of me. I went out and got one of those. Because I didn't have one
You need
before,
one
but I
in your
did now.
kitchen and you need one outside. So
I got one by my outside, and now I need to work on it. See, I'm a slacker just like everybody else is, and I'll admit to it. That's the only difference. Thank you for coming in. We
That's no
appreciate it.
problem.
You tell Carol and Lucas we said hi.
we'll do it. Maybe we all get together and set an appointment up and go see Joe Riley and get a haircut.
I think a boys' day out. That's what I think. Carol
what
and
we
I
need.
would enjoy a boys' day out.
I bet y'all would.
Thank you so much.
right,
Of course,
we'll see
Donnie
y'all.
Adams from Adams-Contractor, and we thank them so much. And, we're going to go from him helping us out because he always tells me stuff I don't know. And I then I always go home and go, man, I want to do that now. So from Donnie Adams helping us out with our house and everything that we need to know, from the air conditioner to, hey, maybe you need some employment. He helped us out a lot with that. You can get all the details again on WPKYonline.com. And sticking around, we're going to now help you with the yard because we're going to try to get everything trimmed up and looking good, whether it's from the house or the deck, or now we're going to talk about the yard and the lawnmowers. You know those things where do you sharpen your blade or do you just buy a new one? Or is my battery dead? Or there's different things that we're going to talk about with lawnmower. Sim Small Mechanics, he could tell us all about it. He's going to tell us coming up next on PKY.
Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz is the place to shop for delicious homemade goodness. Hancock's makes their own fresh chicken salad, pimento cheese, salads, and a variety of mouthwatering desserts, sure to please your entire family. While at Hancock's, be sure to visit their meat department for the best selection of USDA choice meats in the area. Hancock's Neighborhood Market in Cadiz, hometown homemade goodness, and the Hancock name you know and trust for quality for your family. Hancock's Neighborhood Market on Commerce Street in Cadiz.
Health First Community Health Center is doing our part to help stop the spread. We are now offering telehealth services to keep you healthy at home. Scheduling a virtual visit with your medical or behavioral health provider is easy. All you need is a smartphone, tablet, or computer and internet access. Get the care that you need to stay mentally and physically well from the convenience of your home. Contact our office for an appointment at 877-667-7017. At Health First, your health is our first concern.
Are you having a rough time hearing? This is Donnie Baker of Audubell Hearing Center, and we can help. Let us prove it. Take the 30-day challenge. Come in for a free hearing evaluation. Choose the best hearing solution just for you, then wear it for 30 days, risk-free. We can change your life. Let us prove it. I dare you. Take the 30-day challenge. Call today, 270-554-1900.
As we continue to battle COVID-19, we would like to stop and say thank you to all the frontline workers, from nurses and healthcare providers, teachers, grocery store workers, military, and beyond. Each of you have played a huge role in this fight, and we want to salute you.
Go to WPKYonline.com and upload a picture of your fearless frontline worker today so they can feel the love and support they truly deserve. Frontline salutes have been brought to you by Main Street Pharmacy, Gracious Meat, and Hancock's Neighborhood Market.
The Joshua Tree Boutique on the Court Square in historic downtown Princeton is so glad to be back open. They've missed their customers so much. Since the last time you visited, a lot of new merchandise has arrived. You'll find a beautiful selection of spring and summer fashions just waiting for you. And the selection of jewelry is the best ever. They'll be sanitizing and practicing social distancing for your safety and theirs. Visit the Joshua Tree Boutique on the Court Square downtown Princeton. And be sure to follow them on Facebook.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
1580, 103.3 WPKY. Oh, wait a minute. Speaking of weather, let's figure this out. It's our WPKY Weather Engine Weather Center forecast. Of course, 30% chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms this afternoon, high 84. Tonight, 50-50 chance overnight, low 66. Tomorrow, showers are likely on and off all day, high 77. Thursday, rain moving in early afternoon, high 81. And on Friday, 80% chance of early afternoon showers. If you close your eyes, spin around, pray, and cross your fingers and toes, there's a 20% chance that it won't. High 78. Then sunshine in mid-70s for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. A welcomed break from the rain. It is 71 at 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Jeff Russo, attorney at law.
1580, 103.3 WPKY. And of course, we're in the middle of coffee talk this morning, and we've talked to Mr. Joe Riley and Mike Oliver down at Big Boys. They're open for business today, so they're going to be there for several more hours. I believe he said till 5 o'clock, so make sure you swing by. And, take your mask. He said everybody had been behaving, and it only take 15, 20 minutes, but they are sanitizing in between each person. So you give them a little extra time and be patient with them, and they'll make you look all snappy and pretty. Of course, Donnie Adams was just in here a minute ago from Adams-Contractor. And now we're going to move from your head to your house till now we're going to clean up your lawnmower. We got Sims Small Engine Repair in with us, Mr. James Sims. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll tell you, I was talking to him off air just a second ago, and I said, I don't think I get much more frustrated than I do when I go out and I try to turn on my lawnmower and it won't work. That drives me insane because I'm the kind of person that when I get it in my head that I want to go do something, I want to do it now. I have no patience. And I do tinker with them, but, sometimes I probably should not. But there are certain things that we can do as owners at home just to kind of spruce it up and make sure that it's still running good, right? I mean,
Yes.
if we notice that our blade is, if our yard is starting to be crooked, and go sideways at an angle, that might say that there's something wrong with our blade, right?
Yeah, bent blade or something like that.
Now, do we have to replace it completely, or can we just get it sharpened?
A bent blade, you might as well replace them.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how do we know the difference in sharpening and replacing? Are we better off just to bring it to you and you'll let us know?
Well, 99% you can just sharpen them. The only time if you hit a culvert or a root or something like that and you bend it, you'll figure out fast because your mower is not mowing level.
Okay, and that's where you've got to start re-mowing what you already mowed.
Yes, ma'am. Or else just go get a set of blades.
Yeah, that makes it a whole lot easier and
Yes,
faster,
ma'am.
doesn't it? Well, what about, I'll tell you something else. Now, oil. When it comes to the oil in these things, believe it or not, we do have to change our oil every once in a while, like you
Yes,
do in your
ma'am.
vehicle, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And now, how often should we be doing that? Once a year when we take it out? Or
I'd say at least according to how much you use it. If you use it a lot, like commercial stuff like that, I'd change it probably every 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And make sure it's full, because I see a lot of people that'll mow sideways.
Mow sideways?
Yeah, ditches and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah?
that. And if
I
you
didn't
don't keep,
think about that.
If you don't keep that mower full of oil, when that motor is tipped on the side, all your oil is going to drain to one side. And inside of a motor, it's got a little plastic wheel that just throws your oil into your motor. And if it's got nothing but sit there to spin, so you got to make sure it's level and full, because you'll sure blow a mower up like that.
James
I've had 'em
Sims, I
come to
feel
my
like the
show.
biggest ding dong right now. I never thought about that.
Yes.
So, because a lot of times you'll notice the lawnmower's over the line. Oh, it's only a little low. I'll get it later.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's how many times have we all done that?
A lot. I see a
Well,
lot
and
of people
gas
do that.
additives. Are we supposed to be using them, and what are they really for? Are they for
gas-
storage? If we're using it every week, what does it
storage.
matter?
Storage is mainly like that because you're using it too much. You know, you're filling up your tank all the time in the summer and spring.
Well, and I've heard people say that, and especially on the bottle, it'll tell you need to do it every time.
Yeah.
But what are those additives really doing if you're putting that much gas in it? Because I'll go through 2 tanks mowing my
Just
yard.
keeps your carburetor clean and all that good stuff. Usually you want to keep your carburetor clean because your float will stick. Your needle will stick.
Now, what's a float?
Well, it's when your carburetor fills up, they're plastic, and the old style Tecumseh is aluminum, and it'll float up when the bowl gets full and shuts the needle off. Keeps the fuel from draining.
It's kind of like putting your finger in front of a straw. You can't get nothing out of it.
It keeps your fuel from draining, like if you set it up all night and you wake up in the morning and you go out there and try to start it, and all the motor wants to do is just barely, like a battery's dead.
Oh.
And a lot of times they'll bring them to me, and they've got fuel inside the crankcase, and inside your head, you take the plug out. Your piston's trying to shove all that gas and nowhere to go, so you think, well, my battery's dead. Take your plug out, crank it over, and you'll see how much gas shoots out that head because it's bypassing the float. And when that happens, if I clean a carburetor once or twice and it still does that, instead of buying a new carburetor, put a shut-off valve on the line. When you get done mowing, shut it off. Shut the fuel off.
Well, you know, my dad is
That
big
saves
on that,
money.
is turning that gas off. When he gets off of it, he is always shutting that fuel
Yeah,
off.
that
And he
saves
does
you-
it on his four-wheeler, too.
Yeah, and that saves you from buying another carburetor and stuff, you know. Unless it's I see a lot of carburetors that's real gummed up all
Right.
the time.
Now, is that from dirty gas? Is that what we're...
Yeah, because you got a solenoid underneath the bow of the carburetor.
Okay.
And every time you turn the key on, it clicks. It clicks up and
Right.
down. That shuts the fuel off for safeties. Reason.
Oh.
If that gets gummed up, it ain't going to work, and it's going to shut your fuel off.
I'll
Long
tell
as
you what, we've
stand there-
learned a lot this morning.
Yeah, as long as you stand there and spray carburetor cleaner in, it'll run. But that's it.
Oh, okay. Well, now, to our battery, sometimes, I mean, that battery will stay up and sometimes it don't. How come it I
Well,
mean,
now,
you
if
got to
it's-
plug them in or what?
No, if it don't stay up all the time, you've got a, I can't think of the name of it. It's underneath the flywheel that sends charge back to the battery. Sometimes them go out.
Okay.
They're called something, but I can't think of
Well, I mean,
what they're called.
but how often do you charge it, or should you need to charge it? If we start having to
You
charge it
shouldn't have
all
to-
the time,
You shouldn't have to charge it if the charging system is doing right.
okay. So that's an indication of our battery
Yeah,
is
if you
bad.
run a mower for a day and then get up the next morning and it's dead on a doornail, then something's wrong with your charging system.
Okay. Well, that's and sometimes I've had those, I've had those moments where you get the battery cables out. Okay, should you ever jump start your mower? What if you've got a lawnmower, a big old a riding mower and you want to jump start it, can we jump start it just like a car with some battery cables?
They're 12-volt batteries.
And can we jump start it off our car, or will it blow up our mower?
No, it ain't gonna blow up your mower. One reason's because it's got a fuse in it.
Oh, okay. And I guess that's another thing that can go wrong.
And a lot
those
of times
fuses.
you wake up in the next morning and you turn the key on, and don't nothing happen. The first thing I check is the fuse.
Okay.
If the fuse blowed, put another fuse in it. But then if it keeps blowing them, find out why it's blowing them.
Well, and then if you're like me, sometimes it's better off if you just take it to you and let you tell me what's wrong with that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when I tinker with things, it could get worse instead of a whole lot better. But there are a few things, like maybe some oil and different things like that we can keep up with ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And, before having to put it on the trailer and drag it up there. Now, if we do drag it to you, then where are you located at so that somebody can...
I'm out on Marion Road across from that first little old school on the right.
Now, you're right across from the primary school,
yes,
right?
Yes, I'm renting a building from Heaton where Ames Handle Company used to be.
Okay,
right,
and what all do you repair? Is it just lawnmowers or...
Lawnmowers, weed eaters, chainsaws.
Oh, now chainsaws, that's a whole nother show right there.
Yeah.
Hey, how many people have brought you the chain and said, here, put this thing on? I can't do that.
Yeah, not too many.
Really? Because it took me a long time the first time I had to replace a chain. I'm not going to lie. That whole take the whole side off of it and
yeah,
what is tight and what is too tight and what is not tight enough, that whole thing, that's it.
Yeah.
That, got to do it a few times.
I can clean carburetors on just about anything, like zero turns and four-wheelers.
All right, well, here, I'll ask a question about that chainsaw since it's that time of year, too.
But I will say one thing. If it's wiring, I don't know much about the wiring.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You got to check it.
But that's okay. What is your phone number if they want to ask you the question?
Phone number is 625-5485.
And you might have one for sale out there, too, if they're just looking for one.
Yeah, I got a Craftsman right now for sale. Real nice.
So he's a wealth of information, and he's right here. We talk about #SupportLocal all the time, and that's exactly what you are. You're one of our local businesses.
I've been here for 20 years in the business.
20 years. I bet you've learned a thing or two over those 20 years.
Yes, I have.
What not to do, if nothing else. I've had a whole lot of what not to do. So that's one of the things that I love. And we've had 3 of our local businesses in this morning. And I think that's so important.
Just remember on the safety. A lot of people want to lift their mower up and check the blade and turn it around and around. Don't do that unless you unplug the spark plug. You never know when that thing's going to start up.
Oh, we can start up without the key on?
It could do anything. Just make sure you ain't going to have a key much on a push mower anyway.
Well, no, that's true.
That's dangerous. Always unplug your wiring system.
I never thought about that. I bet I've done that, a million times not thinking about it.
All that
you
thing
just don't
have
think
to
about
start up is just a second or two and your hand's gone.
He is a wealth of information. You really are. I appreciate you coming in and talking to us about it, because there's some of those things like additives and sharpening the blade or replacing the blade and batteries and different things like that, there's a lot of myths out there. And Google is full of them, Everybody's got an opinion about it. But trying to get that from somebody who actually knows, that's extremely helpful. So we sure do appreciate it. Give them your phone number one more time, too, and make sure they know how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, it's 625-5485, Sim Small Engine.
Well, thank you so much. And, of course, Charlie, we got to thank him for coming in. He doesn't want to be on the air, but I want to thank him for coming in anyway. And who is that you said you're...
Yeah, he's from Dexter, Missouri.
He looks like he might be able to fix a mower or two right along with you.
He hangs around some shops up there in Dexter.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. You come back and see us, okay?
I sure will. Thank y'all for having me.
Thanks so much. Of course, tomorrow we're going to talk. Have you heard about the alligators down in Kentucky Lake? Well, they actually found one. That's true. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk to some people who actually know about that. Okay, that's right. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, one way or the other. Good, bad, or ugly. Alligators in Kentucky Lake, and we're going to find out the truth. So stick around. Of course, Audrey Lamb is coming up in just a little bit. We've got Todd is going to be in with sports, and they're going to keep you updated. Don't forget, we have our school board meeting, and that's going to be live on the air at 6 o'clock this evening, so tune into that. And if you missed anything or any of the phone numbers or any of the information this morning, of course, all you have to do is log on to our website. We're there 365 days a year, 7 days a week, and all over the world at WPKYOnline.com.
Moments we share with those we love, worry about, and strive to protect the most. At Woodman Life, we provide life insurance and retirement products to help protect you and your family so that you can enjoy all the moments to come.
This is Josh Ray, your local Woodman Life agent. Come see